Conservative New Media viewers, we've got some news from the NBA. Jeremy Lin and the New York Knicks have lost this afternoon at home to the visiting Philadelphia 76ers. The game took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The final score was 106-94 in favor of the Sixers. We'll include several links to stories about this game in the video description below the video player as soon as we can. The first of those links will be to the box score and video highlights of today's contest. This was a close game at the half, with New York down just 2 points at the intermission. But Philly came out much stronger than the Knicks in the third period, and the Sixers led by 16 points at the end of 3 periods, and then they held off a late fourth quarter charge by the Knicks to get the win. After starters Lin and Chandler took a seat on the team's bench late in the third period, the Sixers increased their lead over New York, bringing an increasing chorus of boos from the New York crowd. It got worse early in the fourth quarter, as New York fell behind by as many as 21 points. Midway through the quarter, though, New York found a spark. The Knicks cut the lead down to 14 points, and then even 10 points late in the game. But it was not enough. I do not believe that Carmelo Anthony played at all in the fourth quarter today, and he didn't seem very happy with that decision while sitting on the New York bench. Reserve guard Lou Williams led the Sixers with 28 points. Starting shooting guard Evan Turner added 24 points and a career-high 15 rebounds in the win. Turner was gigantic in this game, hitting key shots to stifle Knick runs at various points of the contest. Carmelo Anthony led New York with 22 points and 9 rebounds. Jeremy Lin added 14 points and 7 assists in the loss, and also had 6 turnovers. More on Lin and Anthony in a moment. New York drops to 18-23 on the season. The Knicks have lost 5 games in a row and fall to 10-8 in the Jeremy Lin era. New York is still currently in the 8th and final playoff position in the NBA's Eastern Conference. Next up for New York will be the Chicago Bulls and defending league MVP Derrick Rose tomorrow night in Chicago, Illinois. That game will appear on ESPN television in the United States. Now, a bit more on today's game, Jeremy Lin, and the state of the New York Knicks. Philly was jacked up for this game. That is, they wanted to make a statement today, and they did so. I've watched a number of Sixers games this season, and this may have been the most complete game that the Sixers have played all year. That doesn't excuse the Knicks for losing this contest, but it helps to provide a little bit of perspective. Sometimes it's just not your day. The Knicks did some positive things today. Early in the game, I thought New York's offense looked much more fluid and cohesive for the first time since Amari Stoudemire, Carmelo Anthony, and Baron Davis returned to action. That is a good sign. However, as good as the offense looked, the defense looked almost as poor. Anthony and Stoudemire are not particularly good defenders, and that is something that will have to be worked at in the time to come. Jeremy Lin had a tough day, which isn't surprising against a defense like Philly's. Lin shot the ball poorly and was back into his high turnover mode, but there were 2 positive developments for Lin that came out of today's game. First, Lin's plus-minus statistic in this game was just a -2. Plus-minus measures how well your team scores as compared with the opponent when a certain player is on the floor. The only Knicks player who had a positive plus-minus today was Landry Fields with +2. So, though the Knicks lost by 12 points, the plus-minus for Lin gives an indication that the loss was not primarily his fault. To further the point, backup point guard Baron Davis had a plus-minus of -16 today. What that means is that when Davis was on the floor, the Knicks were outscored by 16 points. This leads me to my other point. Jeremy Lin played very good defense today, one of the areas of his game that was believed to be a real weak point. Lin held Philly starting point guard Drew Holiday to just 8 points on 2 of 14 shooting, and Lin made several other key defensive plays in the game to help New York. Lin is still far from a finished product, which isn't surprising given that he has basically played as much in his first 2 years as a rookie would through their first year. But what stands out about Lin is that he works extremely hard at his game, and he can improve quickly. We've seen that improvement in his turnovers, not counting today, and now we're starting to see it in his defense. That is a very good sign. So, while the Jeremy Lin doubters will be out in full force, given the Knicks' recent struggles, what I'm telling you is that Lin himself continues to find ways to improve. And those improvements will show up later for him and the team. So if you're a Lin supporter, take heart. Even if the Knicks are not going to win the NBA championship this season, there is still reason for optimism regarding the team and Jeremy Lin. Now, give us your thoughts below on today's game. Is Linsanity over? Are the Knicks a pretender, even with Jeremy Lin? Who do you blame for New York's current struggles? You tell us below. Also, please be sure to let us know what you thought about this video by clicking on the thumbs up or thumbs down button underneath the video player. Thanks. Finally, we encourage you to come and join us on the Conservative New Media Facebook group. You will find the link to the group in the video description. This is NBA expert Paul F. Villarreal, and you're watching Conservative New Media, your #1 YouTube channel for Linsanity and Jeremy Lin news.